listening to Out Late with David. True stories of coming out later in life. And now here's your host, David Cotton.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Out Late with David. Today, we are fortunate to be in Palm Springs, California, a beautiful day with Chef Charlie Vollmar. And if you recall, he is one of our guests from 18 months ago. In fact, his show remains the number one on the channel, has the most likes and comments, a powerful story. So I thank you very much for that. And your social media presence actually helped us grow because your followers then followed us on. That's the whole dynamics that's cool about social media, is the collaboration that can take place. So glad we can meet today in person. It was kind of nice. We'd met each other virtually, but never actually got to give each other a hug after meeting online to do all that. And as I understand, you're here for a Sister City program, which we'll talk about later. But thanks again for this update. Welcome.
For having me again.
Yeah. Let's jump right in. Your first interview stands out as you share your story very publicly. And that was kind of the first time. How did that feel when you actually sat down there and shared that so broadly?
Well, I think we have talked about my journey from my coming out in January 23 to myself, and then being outed in May of that year, 23. And my journey became very public very quickly, just beginning to understand who I was, how I was going to proceed or navigate my life forward. And we've spoken of before, my narrative about it used to take several hours to explain from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And now it's about a 2-minute elevator speech.
Yeah.
And the same amount of content is there, but it's just abbreviated. Being public, though, was not something I intended to do. But it just became a part of my journey and a part of who I became as more of a public figure, as an ally for coming out later in life.
And then how did others respond when they saw you, having known you? Some knew you and other folks. What was that feedback like that you received?
I'm from East Bay, San Francisco, and I was there 30 years. So there are a lot of relationships there. And I would say to this day, it's diminished greatly. I don't communicate with many people there. I think for one reason or another, I've lost a lot of contact with people just because proximity, me being in Mexico now. So, but I do know that the contact and the communication with most of the people from my past, we moved on.
How does that storytelling help you build possibly bridges to other communities and other places in life?
Well, I think my living in Mexico makes a big difference for me. It's a transition that I'm really now finally becoming comfortable with. Now 2 years.
Yeah.
It affects my work. It affects my social calendar. It affects my social media presence. It really has become. I posted today on Threads about my new colorful life, which most people don't get a chance to remake themselves, and I've been given that opportunity and partially forced into that. But my point of the post today was you only have one life to live, and make the most of it if possible.
Well, reinvention, that's a great maybe jumping off point. If you haven't seen the episode, go back, and he tells the story when he left San Francisco area, the Bay Area. It was with 2 carry-ons, a red backpack, a laptop, and a cup of coffee. We have a picture of that we posted. And then you literally restarted your life by ending up eventually in San Miguel. What drew you to that direction, and how did you build upon that?
I had visited San Miguel a couple years earlier, and I have friends from the area who had places there part-time living. And so I was encouraged to come down and see it become part of my repertoire for my tour company. And so I think I did 4 tours there even before I came out. And so I knew it very well. I knew I had some friends there, and I kind of call it rolling over the border. I really didn't have an intention to live there or stay there indefinitely. And within about a year, I got my visa. So I have a temporary visa, and so I'm a resident now. I'll become permanent in 2 years. And I just continue to nurture my new chosen family, which are the people I already know. It's interesting what happens with the straight couples I knew. I don't see them as much as I used to because I have other priorities.
Yeah, other friends there.
Yeah, and it's a very welcoming community. It's very cosmopolitan. There are a lot of trappings that keep expats here, about 20,000 of us. No, about 10% of the population.
In the city?
In the city.
Wow.
In the surrounding area.
Okay.
But it's about 100, almost 200,000 people in San Miguel proper. And so we were about 20,000. So, and the gay community is very welcoming. We have a lot of social aspects too. There are a lot of things that made Mexico attractive to be able to live there and sustainably live there. Cost of living is a big issue. When you give up everything you ever owned and you're starting from scratch, I'm needing to be careful about how I proceed forward. And the Bay Area was too pricey to live, as most of the U.S. is, including Palm Springs. Yeah, because there. So, but it just, and it's also, for most of us, healthcare is a big issue. So we're close to California. We're close to medical, catastrophic medical issues as we get older. And so, and my kids are still there. And eventually we will communicate at some point, I'm sure. So I wanted to Europe was too far, and Mexico just seemed to be a good option. And part of that severing that I've talked about before, where I really need to completely liberate.
What did Mexico give you or provide that you didn't know you needed?
It's a great question because a lot of us get very complacent in our lives. And Mexico does a couple of things for me. And I just realized it recently. It keeps you hyper aware. It challenges your mind every day. And they say when you get older, you're supposed to do word games and card games and things to keep your mind active and play bridge. Well, I don't play bridge. So Mexico is a very engaging place. And every day Mexican life presents different challenges, and everything takes more time, more effort, or whatever. And if you finally get to do and finalize what you set out to do, you're lucky. But the process to get to that point does challenge your mind every day. You walk outside, the language, the food, the cobblestones. It's a very treacherous place in a lot of ways. So we're constantly challenged by life there, and I think that's makes it more interesting. Life in the Bay Area became very complacent. You knew what you're, and for everybody, where if you live in one place for 30 years, it just becomes too easy. And so I was looking for that complete.
How did that pivot change the way you approach your craft as a chef, food, and all of those things that integrated with that?
Good question. I've reopened my cooking school in San Miguel and then Centro, which is the storage center, and I'm providing classes for the expats and immigrants. Expats are those who are stowbird; they pop in and out. Other immigrants are full time. And we're careful with our words for the locals. And we have a lot of tourists who come in as well. So every week there's a new batch of tourists coming in. So I teach French and Italian cooking. I really have to be careful in remaking myself there because I don't want to step on toes. I don't want to create conflict with the locals and take opportunity from others. So I get a lot of requests for Mexican cuisine, and I have 3 chefs that I refer all that business to because they're the experts. So I maintain French, Italian, and the Spanish cooking, and that's my kind of niche there. And there aren't many people doing that at all. So it does. Sure. If somebody travels to Mexico, it's interesting to come down for a week and they're like, sure, I want to make a souffle or make pasta. I'm like, deal. But
We can do that.
usually you go for the cuisine of where you are. But no, it works out. And for a lot of us too, those of us who continue to work, our goal is to give back more than we take, right? So I do a lot of my philanthropy is a big part of my existence there.
What does that philanthropy look like as part of your existence?
So I offer free kitchen skills classes for local teams, Mexican teams. I have translators who come in and translate. The goal is to get them out of the kitchen or out of the dish room and the kitchen faster in their life. And restaurants are a huge sustainable career for a lot of people in Mexico. I'm working with some local preschools, raising funds. I'm a big fan of early childhood education, and food stability. There's a lot of uncertainty in the food chain there, and a lot of people are struggling. So I work with an organization called uh, Feed Feed San Miguel, and it's an organization that provides food to all the schools, the assisted living care, facilities for the elders, not the elders, and what have you. And then I work with sister cities, which you mentioned too. That's why I'm here at Palm Springs. They have actually Palm Springs and sister cities, and San Miguel are sister cities, based on art, architecture, and the culinary arts and hospitality. So I'm a new advisor for the intercultural exchange we'll have with the chefs from College of the Desert here, and then we have the trade school which is the Technical University in San Miguel, also a large culinary program. It's wonderful. We do exchanges for young people, exposing them to other cultures, and really just improving resumes. So that
It's when I think about that, had you not had what happened to you 2 or 3 years ago, this connection between the two cities in this way probably wouldn't exist. It's just wild what universe sometimes drops in the laps of people for goodness for others that you couldn't make it work if you wanted to.
No. And it's been my path for 2 years, nearly 3, is very haphazard. A lot of people move to Mexico intentionally with their land, and they retire, and then they go a couple of some searching expeditions to kind of map it out and figure it out. I just ended up rolling in, and that's part of my journey. Is people ask me, how did you go from that point to that point? And Mexico was, it's a challenge living abroad. It is abroad, not the U.S. And the fact that it is still a third world country, it's really challenged. So, so much of what I have done there was just created from absolutely nothing. And I just applied, the wisdom of my life, the wisdom of my career, the skills and techniques that I carry with me can be applied. I knew when I left California, leaving everything behind, I would never starve. I could always cook. I could always create.
Right.
And I have now thousands and thousands of friends around the world who I know and lean on more than I ever have.
One thing I always found inspiring and is actually helpful to me after we initially met is your, we'll call it, radical openness and vulnerability in social media. What got that started, and what was the motivation behind that?
When we are hidden away for as long as we are, I was in a very controlled, conventional life, and I had done everything right. But I was also I had a persona in my work, but privately I was a very small person, and I had really been pushed down a lot, hiding my masculinity, hiding my sexuality, hiding my true, authentic self, was a constant effort. And so when coming out for me as gay was the least of my opportunity. I blossomed into this completely different person. Who you met 18 months ago, right. I'm not the same person. I rewatched that episode the other day, and I was like, who is this person? And I felt like a small kid there explaining my story, and I am not the same person. And we talked about it. I'm not the same person I was yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
I change every day, every hour. It based on who I meet, the interactions I have, the social media the reaction to my social media, which is primarily positive, but I get some negative stuff coming too. So we're constantly changing, and that's part of the wonder of becoming authentic as we are. And the vulnerability was a big part of it. And that's the thing I think I'm most admired for. And it wasn't, it just evolved that way. I really became uninhibited in my sexuality in my life, that becoming vulnerable was the least of the things that I was giving away. But it did show, I posted this morning my new colorful life, and it was about being here and not having experienced this before. But there's just nothing in my way. There's nothing that I won't say or do. I have no secrets, and there's nothing. And that, for a lot of people, we tend to be private and we want to keep it close or whatever. That's part of who I am now and there's nothing stopping me.
Did you have to overcome something to get to that point? An obstacle of sorts?
I think that, well, yeah, for 60 years, it's really hard to reverse all of this stuff. And I think what happened for me was I became a writer, and I'm on Threads now. So visit Threads. I have nearly 17,000 followers. I've got some really for a full year, almost 2 full years. I post 2 to 3 times a day about my life, and 500 characters or less, and it's usually 500 characters on the of just how I'm feeling the day. And part of that, my goal with Threads was to just say whatever was on my mind, and again, nothing held back. I have a lot of private thoughts, which became very public, and I would just put it on paper, and I would, for everyone to see. And again, no hold barred.
For someone that's sitting here listening and in that period of uncertainty, trying to become their authentic self or understand what their path is, what advice would you have for them to consider?
We all have our own time frame for our life, and we all have a certain comfort. And I talk to people. I feel like sometimes like I'm a physician or somebody who is offering advice. I'm not clinically trained to do any of this, so I always premise that for most people, work with your therapist, work with a psychiatrist if you're really struggling, if you're have issues with self-harm and you're like struggling with depression, anxiety, all that stuff. That will only be repaired by taking that step forward and becoming true to yourself. I think that my greatest advice for everybody is take it slowly.
No.
Don't charge off. I was unique. I mean, the timeline has been portrayed. I came out to myself in January. I was out in May. I stayed in the area for 3 months, and in September of the same year, I left. And so there was a bit of a time frame that I was transitioning, right? But I got on a flight to London on September 5th of that year to go work. And then beyond 3 weeks of tours, I was done and I was on my own, and I just kind of finished that work. And then I just kind of jumped out of the plane without a parachute or any structure or any support. And that's a big deal. That's not easy for me or for anybody. We all have different circumstances leading us from our previous life to where you want to be. And I do think that you have to do it on your own time. My best advice is find allies to talk to, have people to talk to. Don't live it by yourself. And I told you recently that I have dozens of men around the world who have DM'd me on Sidebar from Threads or other social media presences, even this particular medium, and I'm the only one they know that knows they're gay, and they're in controlled cultures, environments, in the Middle East or in China, and they don't have a way out. They're really going to be not gay publicly for their life, and so they're speaking to somebody. And also, I have a lot of men who say, "I need a way out, and how did you do it? And can I just talk to you about your advice on how I could proceed forward?" There are millions of us who are still struggling, and it's
especially our generation, to where we grew up in a culture to where it was so suppressed. So when men come out, from my experience, there's always that first thing is, okay, they get settled in something, then it's always a relationship. What do they do? Dating. And what is the structure of a relationship? What should it be like? I know what I came from. In many cases, it was, maybe married to a woman, they have a family, not always, but a lot that talk to me are that way. And so they sometimes desire, but they're not sure. How did you sort through all what you really desire in life, having been in a relationship with, kids and extended family and all those things, to where you are today?
30 years in a committed relationship. We were married 10 years before our kids came along. So we were 10 years together alone and then together without the family. And then the family came and it was another 20 years together, recommitting to my straight life all the way through. It's, I didn't really have a plan to exit. I was kind of found out, and then overnight I had to make choices. So, you know, we've spoken recently also about the fact that I had to, in order to make my new life happen, I needed to separate. Right. I needed to give away everything and I needed to start fresh. And I couldn't stay in the community and have an apartment around the corner. It's very common when we speak to a lot of men who are in this situation, and then they visit their kids or whatever. And a lot of people have child support issues, spousal support issues. I have none of that. So I have that freedom to separate.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only way that I could see forward and allowing myself to. I had to be able to be on my own. And even today, I am a committed single gay man, and I have had a lot of propositions to be partnered or, choose a new family. Chosen family is different. Pairing is a completely different outright. And I am not prepared to be in another committed relationship where I'm under somebody's thumb or dictated by anybody else. For me personally, I'm happy alone, happy to be single. I have tons of friends. I meet new people every day. There's no expectation of my time. I do have work, so I have to show up for my committed occasions and classes and things. But beyond that, I wake up here in Palm Springs. I woke up for a full week every day, just like the world of my oyster.
And a gorgeous oyster this is.
And, that's part of it. I just put my life together every single day.
Yeah.
Right. I have some scheduled things, but primarily my life in Mexico, I wake up most days and I have this new exuberance for life that I have not had my whole life, which is who I'm going to meet today. Who am I going to have lunch with? Right. How am I going to plan my day? And it's very fluid and I love it that way. It gives me a chance to, I cannot wait for the day to start. And there are times in the last 2 years where I didn't want to live. Right. And now I'm in a place where I can't wait for the day to begin. And I'm sad when it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just plan for the next.
Personally, I just choose to be joyful each day I wake up because I can control what I think and what I physically do with my body. So for fitness and thinking are the things that keep me going to stave off those bad days you talked about.
Well, also from a very esoteric point of view, I believe that we're given this vessel, right? We have feet, we have hands, and if they're all working, bless us, and we have the ability to chart every day. So our mind tells us what we want to do, and then we function, and then we carry forward. And I do look at it that way. I look at the blessings we have to be healthy and able to live our lives as we should. It's I know a lot of people with chronic issues in life. I'm very fortunate to have my mobility and my health that I can pull apart my day. I'm 63 and I'm not getting any younger, but I'm trying to.
No one's getting younger, so
fighting it every day. Yeah. So I really do take care of myself. I do work with trainers. I eat better. I've lost 40 pounds since I left. So I feel the best I have in my life. And that's when coming out of 60, I thought I had no future. I was too old, overweight, whatever. And as you know, we become very popular people. Yeah, it's good.
As a life coach, I'm committed to help you discover the passions in your life and help you map a course to achieve the things you really want. Together, we will unwind those persistent self-doubts that are holding you back. You'll begin to see your passions more clearly and set achievable goals. Throughout your journey, I'll be there to challenge and encourage you in moving forward to discover your authentic self. For more information about my personal life coaching services or to arrange a complimentary consultation, visit davidcottoncoaching.com.
You're listening to Out Late with David.
So tell me about your business that you reblossomed and now have that working out of San Miguel.
I have discovered in speaking with other gay men who are closeted and stuff that they don't have options for moving forward. They're either connected some way to a financial situation with their families, and it's finances are a big issue for us. I had a potable work. I knew I could teach anywhere. And I've not only teaching within my space in San Miguel, but there are also other people who do food related things that are bringing me in for demonstrations and classes. And so I'm getting a reputation for that. I knew that I would never starve. I knew that I would always be able to feed myself or feed others. My travel company is 12 destinations internationally. I pick and choose which tours I offer every year. That's also, I could work virtually from anywhere. So I have my laptop and I'm good to go. And, I have New Orleans and Oaxaca, a new destination in Mexico, offering next March. We have Portugal premiering in April. And then we'll be back to France and Italy and, in the fall. And then, of course, Dia de Muertos, which is Day of the Dead, is a very popular destination for San Miguel and most parts of Mexico. So I'll do the as well. So again, potable, easy to transfer. I don't work for 28 years. I don't work in a cubicle. I don't have to go to a site. And it's unfortunate for a lot of people. Yes. That's their comfort zone in the security of that work. Is you can't move. You can't change. You can't just pop up at the house. So I'm very fortunate in that.
That's good. That's one more time. Let's play a little, have something fun here. Some speed round questions. Kind of a game show.
Absolutely.
All right. If a handsome man wanted to impress you, what dish should he cook? And what dish would be an instant deal breaker?
No. He said no. That's good. Somebody else cooking for me. Most of us chefs we're not invited anywhere. Nobody will cook for us because they're too, insecure about.
I was nervous going to breakfast with you yesterday to judge the restaurant.
We were so careful with it. Well, it's really good, but it's going to get the book. It was great. It's not your job to defend wherever you take me. So for me as a chef, I will cook. I will eat anything that's prepared for me because if I don't have to make it, I'm grateful that somebody makes the effort for me. The dish, I love French cooking and I love Italian. It's like if you could come up with something, I'm big into fresh and local and all that kind of stuff. Then lighter fare. And if you could pull that together, you wrap me around your finger because that's pretty much. What is the deal breaker? I don't know. TV dinners.
Okay. All right.
That's kind of
okay.
Or anything that's frozen that you pop in the microwave.
All right. What spice best describes, we'll say, your sexual life right now? Cinnamon, sweet, chili, which is spicy, or cumin, which is complex?
Definitely complex.
So cumin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't want me to explain it, I will. But otherwise, we're just saying that's fine. I'm definitely complex because every day it's the blend of people and circumstance makes it very
okay. I like.
But it has a little spice.
A little spice to it too. So maybe a little bit of everything. You're a chef, and when's it done, right? If you're a cocktail, what would you be, and what kind of man would order you?
So I do have 3 top cocktails. My number 1 is a Negroni, which is, as Anthony Bourdain said, it's three liquors and liqueurs that are horrible separately, but you put them together and it's this magic in the lens. So it's gin and Campari and sweet vermouth. And they have this, again, complex. It's all those flavors just magically work together. And then we have the old fashioned and the Manhattan. So those are the top 3. You ever want to impress me? Then Negronis aren't available. Mexico does a really good Negroni. San Miguel does an amazing Negroni. So it's Italian in its origins, but that's it's bitter, but it has there's some complexity to it. We also like it because the gin is high alcohol. The other two are not. So as Anthony Bourdain said, 1 is not enough, 3 is too many, and 2 is just right. So I can have 2 cocktails and not feel any effects, which I don't care for. So it's and it's just pleasant. It's like drinking coffee in the morning. You have flavor in the comfort of it. The cocktail in the afternoon is what you go for.
So order me a Negroni. Okay. All right. And then you're in like Flint. If you could whisk anyone, past or present, into your kitchen or one night, who would it be and what would you make together?
Julia Child.
Hmm.
She is the icon for the ages for me. I do a tour to southern France, and we actually visit her home, and we live on the same property where she created.
Oh my goodness.
And we lived in Saint-Quebec as her collaborator on Mastering the Art of French Cooking. So we stay in her home, and we visit Julia's place. So Julia, I met her twice. I have a couple of books that were signed by her.
Oh.
To Charlie, Julia. Yeah, I mean, you just can't make that up. And there's something about the fact that she started late in life cooking. She was 40.
That's right.
She went to the Cordon Bleu when she was 40, and she started the cooking program at WGBH Boston when she was 50. And she lived to be 90. And I went to culinary school 34, and I started my travel company at 50. So it's never too late. And I just, I'm passionate about cooking. Her mantra was always, you can never learn more about, there's always something to know and learn. We would cook her boeuf bourguignon together. That's their signature dish across the board. And it's just, it's got classic technique that is when you learn it, it's a dish that I've made thousands of times, hundreds maybe, and I use her recipe, and there's techniques that are classic to the cuisine that are imparted in this. And to sit, and I've been in her cottage and in her living room, in the same space you would have sat, and to imagine being there with James Beard and all these other people who supported her in her life and the work, just unbelievable. And she's really is somebody I think about every day, and I write about it.
It'd be a special moment for sure. Yeah. So what's filling your heart these days?
Mostly relationships with men, and these are social relationships. These are people who I'm meeting, become friends, chosen family. I did not have male friends growing up, and I met a man recently in San Miguel. He's a retired rabbi, Argentinian by nationality, but worked in New York. And he reached out to me and said, you sound like an interesting guy. I'd like to meet you. He's straight, he's married. And we compared notes. He said, I'm 65, you're 63. And we agreed that we have on one hand the number of men that we can count on in our whole life. And that's just the nature of male relationships. Yeah. I did not have male friends growing up. I was bullied as a kid, so I pushed the boys away. I was more standoffish to straight men growing up, dads, other people that I met, because of attraction, and didn't want that to happen. And a lot of us have a lot of female friends because we trust them. We're less threatened, we're less secure, we're more secure with women. I opened up to gay men, and now I have, it's filled a deep hole in my heart and in my soul. And there was a really dark place where I didn't have those connections. And I could talk to you for 5 hours and never tire. I get so much pleasure meeting men, talking to men, sharing with men. And it's not just sexual. It can be that connection that we've learned that men have different way of relating to each other. There's a masculinity, and there's a nurturing, and even a feminine side of who we are, and discovering that with people together and learning about the power of male connection has transformed my life. And that's why my connection, my vulnerability has become so pronounced in my life, is it's through the relationship I have right now. Absolutely.
Where can listeners and viewers connect with you or learn more about you?
Sure. So you can follow me on Threads, Facebook, Instagram. I also have 3 websites. I have an education site, a travel site, and a blog. The best at carrionexchange.com is my education site, and there are links to the other sites for that particular page from my homepage. If you want to know about my whole life and my coming out, it's going to be found on Threads. I've been writing for about a year, like almost 2 years straight. My writing saved my life because I knew there was more to say and I wasn't finished. And it always was that little bit of will that I had left to stay around. And that became a really strong purpose as well as an ally for other men who are coming out. And Substack as well. I have a Substack platform as well. Okay. So they are all used in different ways. Facebook is very generic, G-rated, right? And then we go from there to Threads, to Blue Sky, to Substack. And so my website is the best place to start because you're going to find all the contact information there. Right. And I do encourage anyone listening that if you are struggling, if you have questions, if you just want an ally, anybody, I have hundreds of men I told you about who I'm the only one who knows that they're gay. Right. And that's a privilege and an honor for me to be that for them. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me through WhatsApp.
We'll put all that in the show notes as well. All right. Last question is, I noticed sitting here, the word purpose on your left forearm.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. What was the genesis of?
I have 5 tattoos and I didn't have any before I came out. So this is my coming out tattoo with the year in Ronaldo. Well,
okay.
2023. This was my second. I saw a lot of people with little script on their arms and I admired that. And I was just trying to figure out, it took me about a month to come up with a word that most describe my life and more importantly, going forward. My work has always had purpose, and it wasn't just to cook. It wasn't to make a living, but it was to bring people forward in their lives, to improve their lives, better eating, more gatherings, more family, more social. And cooking is a drudgery for some, and for others, it's an amazing life-affirming task, and we do need to eat every day. But I think if you can look at something, for some, it's not even a hobby. It's really becomes a part of your life. And teaching became my purpose. Teaching was, in which is my signature on all my emails, is Pablo Picasso who said the goal of life is to find a purpose, and the gift of life is to give it away. And so that's what I do, is I teach other people to take these skills forward in their lives. And I call them, my knife classes is knife skills, but I call it life skills. It's learning how to properly cook is a gift, and if you teach it to others, it's something you pass forward. So that's what purpose is for me. And it does purpose. If you look it up, it's the reason we get up every day. It's the thing that draws us to life. It's the thing that makes our life worth living. And that's what it's about.
Well, Chef Charlie, thank you for this update today and sitting down again. Enjoyed it a lot. I'm sure others will too. And as we know, these stories are powerful. They help people that are afraid, don't understand, and gives them comfort to know that they're not alone, that there's others they can relate to. And in your case, they could even reach out to both of us if they want to discuss it in private and confidentiality and explore their thoughts. As part of this, we've realized too, is that we get feedback to say, okay, now that I'm out, now what? So we're going to have some episodes in the future of really, now that I'm out, now what? So if you have ideas or questions that you want to know more about, just send them my way, and we'll look for a guest or someone that can come and talk about that and kind of chew in those ideas of, like we talked about, dating, sexuality, purpose in life, all those things, career changes, how do I pivot, all the stuff that may come up as an opportunity, not as a challenge, as an opportunity as you go forward in your life. But thank you again. Very much enjoyed this time. All the best to you and all that you're doing in the sister city. Sounds exciting. And it sounds like I'll be able to see you more in person. So we'll have to talk again. Maybe we'll do part 3 sometime. So, all right.
Last one I'll make from both of us to all of these wonderful listeners. We are on the other side of trauma. Right. We are on the other side of the drama that's coming out. And I mentioned it online today. hold out, because we're always on the other side of something. There's always a better day. And for both of us, my narrative has changed. It's not about my coming out, but now it's what do I do on the other side? And there is hope for all of us. So
If there is,
keep moving
indeed,
forward and
there's hope.
and be your own.
Choose to be joyful and know that there's hope. So if you like this, like and share to somebody else that may help them. And that's all for this time on Out Late with David.
To find all episodes and resources for coming out later in life, visit outlatewithdavid.com. That's outlatewithdavid.com, your go-to source for inspiration, support, and real stories.
To hear more episodes, visit outlatewithdavid.com. And to learn more about personal life coaching services, go to davidcottoncoaching.com.